As you can see, the iPhone 15 Pro Max is quicker by a lot. Samsung is, by the way, running the official One UI 5.1 version. Now we are running the latest software versions on both phones, iOS 17.0.2 versus the September patch of the One UI 5.1 on the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Yes, as of now, the One UI 6.0 is still in the beta stage, so it would be unfair to test it out against the iPhone, which is why I downgraded. But enough chit chat, let's start off the test by firing up the engines with the Geekbench 6 application. Let's launch at the same time. And Galaxy S23 Ultra very quick there. Now when you look at the specs sheet, you can see this is the highest amount of RAM that we have ever seen on an iPhone ever before, near 8 gigs of RAM up against 12 gigs of RAM on the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Now we're just gonna quickly run a CPU benchmark on both phones just to see where we at when it comes to numbers. Now as you can see, the iPhone finished off way quicker than the S23 Ultra. The S23 Ultra finished as well, and you can see the massive difference in the scores. The A17 Pro is just breaking all the records, but is it going to matter in real life performance? Well, that's exactly what we're gonna find out in this video. As always, we'll be kicking things off with some basic stuff first, starting with phone dialer. You can see really smooth on both phones. Let's try and see the animation on both devices. That looked really good. Let's try this again. Super smooth on both devices. Once again, I am on the September patch, which is showing great animations against the iPhone 15 Pro Max. We'll see if that's the case with the third-party apps as well or not. Jumping into settings. Again, pretty smooth on both phones. Moving on to our first third-party app of the test, which is going to be YouTube. And that is quicker on the S23 Ultra. Again, a bit of a different feed, but you can see it's looking pretty smooth on both devices. If I just do a bit of a scroll test, let's try and exit at the same time. Wow, that was smooth. Yep, that looks really good. So far, I'm happy to see Samsung keeping up their animations with the 15 Pro Max. Next up, we have Twitter. And that is definitely quicker on the Galaxy S23 Ultra. If we scroll around. Wow, so seems like even Twitter, which wasn't optimized for Android before, is also fully fixed. Like, do you see that smooth scroll animation on the Galaxy S23 Ultra? We always had lags and issues with the previous versions, but wow, Samsung came in clutch, or I should say Twitter, they optimized their stuff for Android because it's looking pretty good here in comparison to the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Let's exit at the same time. Boom, no problems. Spotify. That is definitely quicker on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Moving on to TikTok. And that is quicker on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. If we scroll around, you can see very smooth performance on both phones. No issues whatsoever. By the way, do follow me on Instagram at ZTechGear0. Time to exit. Looking smooth. Subway Surfers. And that is quicker on the Galaxy S23 Ultra. We're just gonna leave the game inside on both phones. So far, S23 Ultra is holding up really well against the iPhone. Next up, we have Instagram. And that felt really good and fast on both phones. Again, you guys are the judge here for this one. I feel like iPhone was slightly quicker, but again, I might be wrong. Let's check out my profile. That loaded up exactly the same on both devices. Yeah, really quick. Let's check out the speed of the Insta camera. So here we go. That felt quicker on the iPhone. Trying one more time. Once again, faster on the iPhone. One more time. And yep, iPhone is a little bit quicker in opening the Instagram camera compared to the S23 Ultra. Now what about the actual default camera app on both phones? Let's launch them in 3, 2, 1, boom. And that is also slightly quicker on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Let's take a quick photo. One more time. Boom, 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 boom. As you can see, Both phones are quick, but seems like iPhone is just tiny bit quicker there. Let's see the image capture speed with the back cameras. So here we go. Yep, it seems like the iPhone is quicker, even though it's taking a 24 megapixel photo compared to 12 megapixel on the S23 Ultra. Now let's see the speed in the high megapixel mode on both phones. So 48 versus 200 megapixels. And you can see the iPhone is definitely faster. While these images are still being processed in the background, iPhone is doing that on the go. So I guess that was one way to show the speed difference between the two chips, which is the high megapixel image processing. iPhone is doing that much faster than the S23 Ultra, but Samsung has improved a lot compared to how I remember I first unboxed it with the first software update. So things have improved a lot. Next, we're gonna jump into Reddit. That is slightly quicker on the S23 Ultra. Let's have a quick scroll. Oh, there we go. We saw the lag there on the S23 Ultra. Let's see if we see that again with the second swipe. There is a little bit there. Let's see. Okay, so I guess it was just loading the app. So once everything is loaded, it's now looking smooth. Since we have a lot of apps open in the background, let's quickly do another animation exit test here. Here we go. Okay, still looking very smooth on both devices. Asphalt 9. Let's see which one will load up this game quicker. One of my favorite games to play on smartphones. And you can see that was about the same. I guess iPhone is doing a bit of game sign up there, so I think we should count this a bit of a draw. But what about the actual in-game loading time? So we're gonna be launching the same stage on both phones. Let's see who launches this stage faster, and that is, I believe, quicker on the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Wow, so S23 Ultra is pulling through with all of this stuff. Even with the in-game loading times, things are looking really quick. Both phones are running this game on 60 frames per second. So of course, iPhone has the dynamic island. So I personally kind of prefer the cleaner look of the S23 Ultra if I'm gaming or consuming media. Just some personal preference, but yeah, looking really good on both phones. But yeah, the S23 Ultra faster with the in-game loading time. Next on the list, we have PUBG Mobile. Let's see if we have any comeback from the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Seems like no, because the iPhone still loses to the S23 Ultra, which is first to complete the initial loading time. And as you can see, it is already here before the iPhone resumed the session on both devices, and see some in-gaming performance between the 8 Gen 3 and the A17 Pro. So if we quickly check out the graphics option, you can see both phones have extreme HDR as well as the extreme frame rate option available, so you can play this game at the absolute highest settings if you want to. Let's try the performance on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and wow, that looks absolute butter. Wow, this is incredible. Yeah, easily 60 plus FPS. Let's try it out on the S23 Ultra, and once again, same kind of result. Incredible performance, 60 plus FPS. Man, all thanks to Qualcomm for stepping the game up for Samsung. Moving on to some video rendering on both phones. So we have Adobe Rush